remember if it's Western or if it's English. My son's a horse rider too, and they're opposite. One's Western, one's English, and I can never remember the differences between them. So.
Well, there's a horn right here, it's Western. But Fortuna there's a lot of history there, and it's a beautiful place. I lived there not long ago, but, I'm, one of my horses is on 6, and, 92.
Oh, so you're more farther,
Further west.
west, yeah.
And I retired in May, and so, I
Hired
found.
by a horse farm?
Pardon?
Hired by a horse farm?
No, I retired.
Oh, you retired, I thought you said you were hired, I was like.
No. So I'm sort of, figuring out, kind of a new life and wanted to get involved in, what was going on in the community. I'm curious to hear your perspective on how things are going. It's just, I think it's, Kim and I worked together at Target. We retired together. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting time.
It is. Anything in specific, or just a very broad generalization?
I think broad generalization, I think is.
Well, I could take on lots of meetings. I can tell you, I know that, I think that social media has become the scourge, I think, of the universe in our country. I think that's the downfall right now. I just see lots of stuff, and this has nothing to do with city business, but it's just, when you can go on social media and post anything you want and spread it all over the place, and facts don't have to play a part in that. I think it becomes very difficult just for people in general to kind of deal with that, especially when you have people that are and Twitter's a perfect example, which now we're being shown that the government suppressed any information that would be counter or contrary to what the issue was that's going on. And then obviously weaponizing the FBI against parents at parent meetings at school boards, which then makes you, why do you want to speak up if you, so it's not only squashing dissent, but the possibility of saying, we want to make you afraid to even say anything if it's counter to what we want you to do. So it's a little scary from that perspective. I think everybody's dealing with that, and cities are dealing with that and everything else, so we're trying to, get a little bit better understanding of how to work with all that for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers any part of the question you're asking.
Well, I mean, that's a big, part of our universe. Today.
Do you want to finish something here? Or?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
All right, thank you. All right.
You've been served. How's the coffee?
I assume that's what the paper is today.
Yes, well, like I said, there's a lot of social media issues that constantly are out there to control the media, creates its own narrative.
I see a couple of piles of factual narrative right there that you're not gonna be able to deny.
So do you have any other questions? Since you were the one who are
Go ahead.
speaking.
I think I'll share those.
I know you came in here first, so.
I would like to continue on her question and have you be a little more specific to what's going on in the city as of late, meaning the last, let's just say 2 to 3 years, how things have evolved in terms of term changes, the police department, the public works facility. There's some things there that, as a 20-year resident of the city, that I guess I should have been following closer, if I cared as much as I think I do. And I probably will follow closer, and as I think many other people will. But I've got some real specific questions about those 3 things in specific.
Okay, why don't you start with one of them?
Well, let's start with the fire department. That seems, at least there's a chance to still maybe modify or change the direction that that's headed. The public works is already down the road. I'm gonna dig deeper into that one myself, but
Tell me what's your perception of what you think is going on or know what is going on with the fire department?
once again, it's a perception, I'm here catching an awful lot of what I know from the media, if you will, and from reading minutes and watching, meetings from here at City Hall. I think the fact that you've gone down the road as far as you already have with the fire department, and yet in May now you're gonna make a presentation, if I'm not mistaken, of the options that we have going forward as a city, seems a little backwards. Can you help me out there and understand how this all evolved and how we've gotten where we're at?
Sure. Well, we started our conversations with Long Lake about 3.5 years ago, through their past, city council. And so what was going on is we have a contract that is ending. And so we have decided as Orno over the last 3 years that it was in our best interest to bring our business in-house. We've done that in a lot of different things, with mechanics, police, a whole bunch of stuff.
And who was involved in that fee decision, as you said?
The council and the staff, and the firefighters. And so over the course of the last 3 years, with the contract coming up, you evaluate what do you wanna do. And being that we're 87% of the contract and we haven't had a whole lot of input, and there's lots of different conversations of odd stuff that kind of goes with that, we decided it was in our citizens' best interest to have that in-house. Not unlike what we have at the police department. And we do a lot of other cities with the police department, and we're able to fund that in-house. We have all the HR resources, funding resources to make sure it's done correctly for the first responders. And so probably a year and a half ago, we decided that we were going to start our own fire department and just bring that business in-house. We're not taking over Long Lake Fire. Long Lake Fire, we can't take their fire department. We're just starting our own and bringing the firefighters in-house.
Isn't it true you're trying to lobby the legislature to take their retirement fund? That would be taking over part of Long Lake Fire Department.
Well, and so a year and a half ago, we made that decision.
So you're not gonna answer that question?
I'm trying to finish the question that's already in front of me.
You just said something that's not factually correct. I'm asking you.
I'm gonna finish this and I'll be glad to answer your question. If you want to interrupt me, I guess that's your prerogative, but let me finish the conversation I'm having, okay? So a year and a half ago, we made that decision, and we've been moving that down the road to create that. We already own the fire station and the bar is ours. We own 90% of all the equipment already. Per the contract, part of the problem we have is we have this contract that was very poorly put together. And so we're dealing with that. But the contract specifically spells out how to deal with all the equipment. And we've already come to a conclusion with Long Lake, with them, a year ago on what the value of the equipment is, depending on who buys it. We said they could buy it if they want to, but our portion of buying it is about $100,000. And that was based on the actual value of what you bought it for at the time, not including depreciation. So from a depreciation standpoint, the equipment is probably worth nothing. But we've offered to them to follow the contract, and we would buy all that stuff up. Very easy kind of stuff. So we made that decision, we're moving down forward. What's coming in May is all the stuff that Long Lake has made a proposal to say, we want to continue to do business with you, even though you're bringing it in-house. And here's the business that we would like to offer you to continue to do business with us. And so we're showing you what those alternatives are in May through the staff doing all the reporting and understanding of the financials, so they can show you all the different things and why the path that we're going down is the path that will continue forward most likely. But I don't have all the details because that'll be done in May. And so that's between, the staff is working with Matt Johnson and Councilmember Seals to kind of get all that information together. And they're gonna do that with a lot of good information and details so that people will understand what's going on. But we've already made that decision that we're moving down that road. Now, I don't like the public works facility. Now, to answer your question, I think it's actually disgraceful from my standpoint that Long Lake would withhold the ability and say we don't want the firefighters to be able to move their pension and stay vested to a different fire department. That's the choice that Long Lake is giving the firefighters, that we are gonna put your financial situation in harm and not let you do that. So that's actually getting in the way of their doing their pension funds.
Follow-up question.
And so the legislature, the process with the legislature, which has been done many, many, many times over, is when there are different fire departments and firefighters wanna come over, because the relief associations are completely separate 501c3s in every fire department, it's not an automatic. You have to have legislation that says, okay, we'll let you move your pension over here and continue your vesting so it's uninterrupted. Long Lake is saying, we're not gonna let you do that, we're gonna interrupt your vesting with all the years you put in. And we have told the fire department that we will support them either way, but it's kind of shameful that Long Lake wants to get in the way of that. It doesn't stop us from doing our relief association, because it's a separate entity that gets put together. It's just, do the firefighters have the option to move their vesting opportunities financially to keep them whole over to our new fire department, because that will be the choice. Long Lake is getting in the way of saying, we don't support the firefighters being able to do that. We're not, financially, we're gonna stand in their way. Which is disgraceful to firefighters. I think they're not very happy about that, but I cannot help Long Lake make good decisions, and that's a decision that they have.
Hold on, I'd like to finish on this, please.
Okay, we get one question, and we have other people here, so.
It's just a
It's not a no. We have other questions
You know
here.
what? You aren't telling anybody the truth here is the whole problem. The whole problem is, Long Lake Fire Department, you're doing everything you can to subvert it and take the people away from it. You've already taken the chief of police, or your chief of the fire department, and now you're trying to use the legislature to take their funds so that their firemen will have no choice but to follow over. So while you're sitting here calling them disgraceful, you're the one who's actually being disgraceful in the way you are treating the Long Lake Fire Department and putting the firemen in the middle of your power-hungry grab.
Actually, we did not take the fire chief. The fire chief applied for the job.
He had no choice, given the position, given what you were doing.
Do I get
he
to talk
had no
now?
choice.
Do I get to talk?
He was getting.
Okay, does
you
somebody
had
else wanna
plenty of
ask a
time to
question?
talk, and I'm not gonna let you
Because
sit here and lie.
if someone's just gonna yell and yell and yell, we
I'm
might
not
as well
gonna
just
let
have
you lie.
it, because this is not real.
I'm not gonna let you lie.
And the funds, actually, the funds for the fire
You're sharing
department.
your opinion, that's your opinion.
No.
This is what
It's
is
your
happening.
opinion.
The funds for
You
the-
share
remember-
your opinion, let's let someone else ask a question.
And remember, the funds for the Fire Relief Association are not Long Lake's funds. They are not Long Lake's funds. They are actually the Relief Association's funds, and they're state controlled. They're actually, the state has the say, nobody else, because they're state funds. They're PIRA, through the state. They're not Long Lake's funds
And they
at
can't
all.
funds, of
There
course, the
they are,
firefighters involved.
no part of the funds are Long Lake funds. They're just saying, we stand in the way of wanting, the state giving them the opportunity to bring their pension over. That's the fact. Whether you like it or not, that is the fact.
So if I could just have a continuation on that for a moment, let's stick with the fire.
Okay?
Has the decision been made, maybe I'm misunderstood then here, or I'm misunderstanding, has the decision been made 100% that Orono is gonna take the fire department back in-house?
We made the decision over a year ago that we are going to create the Orono Fire Department. Long Lake has acknowledged as much, that we should be in control of the fire department. So they are proposing what kind of partnership that they would like to bring us if they want to continue to do business. Nobody's obligated to do business with anybody. Contracts come up. We did the same thing with all of our mechanical stuff.
So there was no way to continue on with maybe a different funding mechanism or percentages of funding that was happening, maintaining what was there.
Well, remember how the
But again,
structure
I
works.
you've got an awful lot of details in your head that I don't have.
Right, and so
So I'm
that's,
just looking at a broader general sense that I think there's an awful lot of citizens of this community that are wondering when they just take, snippets of it and.
you gotta remember, the fire department, which Langlock has acknowledged that they definitely will be us in control makes more sense. We have all the resources, the funding mechanisms. They have admitted that they have underfunded the fire department in the past, had some other issues, which I think puts our citizens at risk, and having the opportunity to make sure our citizens are not at risk, we wanna have control of that ourselves. When you change who's in control of the fire department, you have to have a new relief association. We cannot be in control of the fire department that Long Lake it has to fund the relief
Well, so you're
association,
getting
that's
off
not
on a
possible.
piece of this right now that is.
But yeah, there's a lot of technical
Isn't really
details.
answering the broader question to me.
What was-
Then what is being brought forth in May in terms of just what we may or may not be able to offer Long Lake, and if we are acceptable?
What's not what we're offering Long Lake, it's what Long Lake thinks is their best offer to continue to do business with us. That's what that is. We put our best foot forward when we said a year back, we've had these conversations for 3 years. But they wanted us to put it in writing what our best offer was, and we put it in to buy the other half of the fire department, or the fire building on Willow that we don't own. And the offer of we will buy the equipment per the contract, here's the dollars. And originally, we both agreed that we would get an appraisal of that building. Part of the problem is because the contract doesn't spell out what to do with the building if the contract ends. That's kind of the problem. But we both agreed to get appraisals. We got our appraisal and we shared it with them. We said, we'll buy it. Whatever the appraisal is. $1.8 million, something like that, $1.9 million. I don't remember the exact number, but it was in there. To this day, they have not shared their appraisal with us. They've decided to hold that, not share it, so we don't know what their appraisal is. And we said, whatever it is, if yours is higher, we'll use that one. It's okay. But they won't share that. So I can't control what they are willing to do or not willing to do.
So when does the contract officially expire? that we
It
currently have in place?
expires the end of 2025. And as an example, from a fire equipment standpoint, why is that? I just ordered a new fire
Yeah, I
ladder
saw
truck.
that at the county council.
36 months
Yeah.
lead time. I mean, this is not something that you just decide tomorrow to do, because there's a lot of lead times of getting stuff organized, getting the firefighters on board, getting everything organized at the department itself. And there may be different ways that we are gonna look at the fire department, and that is what Matt and Victoria, two council members, are putting together with the staff. Different ways of how we would see the fire department, how it would work, because things are changing out there all the time, whether it's on call, paid on call, or if you have duty crews, or you have a mix mash of how that would work, because of different time frames during the day, people are working, obviously at night people are home, at weekends people are home. We're going through all the machinations of all of that, what's the best thing with the fire chief, because he's obviously an expert as well, to put all that stuff together.
May I say something?
Can I just make one statement? So from your understanding, Orono is proceeding and it's really up to Long Lake versus we're looking at options and we'll pick the right option. You are telling us that Orono is gonna build their own fire department and the options are really how Long Lake will react to that. Is that true?
We made the decision at a council over a year ago that we were going to create the Orono Fire Department because we need to be able to have
So you are,
it.
so what I said is true then?
If we're gonna be in charge, we have to have a fire department, we have to have a relief association.
Correct.
And so we are putting all those pieces in place because that is the direction that we had made over a year ago, is to go that direction. Now, whether we have Long Lake in as a vendor, where we're doing their fire service, or whatever partnership they're offering, that is being scrutinized as to the council with, again, Matt and Victoria, the chief, Adam, I point over here, this is where they all sit, to come up with, are there options that make sense with Long Lake, as we're continuing
But
to.
it's basically how they're gonna react to your decision that you've made already.
Well, no, they've given us their proposal, their best proposal they've given us.
Correct.
So now it's does it make any sense to do that? And that's
Can you
what
just answer
the national issues that they're going through.
I'm gonna defer to Jim.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. Actually, I have an observation, is that this is a nasty divorce. Some have described it as a hostile takeover. I really don't care what we call it. But the negotiations aren't getting anywhere. And I'm a retired firefighter. I don't care whose name is on the truck. And I do recognize, because I also used to run chair of the Relief Association, that it's more logical and rational to have Orno be the obligor of the pension than Long Lake. Financially, Orno was more solvent. And I want the negotiations to proceed in good faith. And transparency has been lacking because we don't know what is going on. But it is clear that if nothing happens and it isn't resolved so that Orno gets the building, then Orno's going to have to build its building, which you have acknowledged. And that will be a very expensive matter unnecessarily when you'll have a building over there that's a half mile away and a building here at the Public Works that's right next door. Now, as a Orno taxpayer and a former firefighter and a resident that wants to have high quality fire coverage, I'm concerned because what's happening here is that there are a lot of questions. Where are we going and how much is it going to cost? And has Orno provided us with a good rendering of what this is likely to cost? Oh, it will take time. And you knew that the termination of the joint powers agreement was at the end of 2025, and time is running out. You're gonna have to make some decisions. I am looking forward to an open, clear, and honest disclosure of the cost that this is about to have. I don't want to scrimp on fire coverage. I'm not trying to save a penny and put our homes at risk. But I think we all have a right to know, what are you going to do? What's it going to cost? And wouldn't it be better, I'm assuming that the cost of your do-it-yourself is going to be very high. You need to go back and negotiate, I think, to buy out the building. If it costs you $2 million and you don't make that number, think of the $4 million you're likely to have to charge us, the taxpayers, to go it alone. I hope you succeed in this, but you need to be transparent and you need to share this with the public. I'm hoping that you will do so in a public hearing forum so we can ask questions, because this can't be, here's the data and you decide. There are an awful lot of questions that people are going to ask. The data will trigger some questions that you'll offer us, and I'm looking forward to that, Mayor. But you know, this has gone on for 3 years, and I don't think we're any closer to getting a settlement, and it's getting nasty. It's an adversarial relationship. You're negotiating, and everybody's going to say something perhaps nasty, perhaps hardly true. But let's close the issues and let's come to a decision.
That was a lot of questions, so I'm not sure which question would you like?
Are you going to share with us honest and open information about what the costs are going to be to go it alone?
Absolutely, that's going to happen in May.
Are we going to have a chance to probe and ask some questions about?
Yes.
In what
So
form?
we're gonna have a public hearing.
In what form?
At the council, you'll be able to come up and discuss the item.
Sir, that's not,
That's
It'll be
not
an
what we're
open
looking for.
discussion.
We're looking for more information.
Mayor, that's not, I can go
When I
this,
said you can come up and have a discussion about ask any questions you want.
but will we get an answer from you at the time? No, you'll sit quietly, you can have.
That's public comments, that's different.
You're gonna talk about actually an exchange?
Yes, we're gonna talk about an item that will be on the agenda that you guys can come up and talk and we will have exchange, yes.
Excellent.
Public comments is very
You've now
different.
committed to having an open exchange of questions and answers.
Yes, I never said that we wouldn't.
You never said you would. So, I mean.
That's a precursor to.
Mayor, you know, we haven't
And
done a lot
regard-
of faith in the negotiation.
And regarding the building, I can't make Long Lake want to sell the building.
You could,
No.
you're in a negotiation.
We
Offer
cannot
them,
make,
offer them.
I appreciate your understanding that you think you can make somebody negotiate in good faith. We have not been able to get that yet. And so to make sure our citizens are actually protected, we are actually doing the stuff that you should be doing and get everything organized, assuming, because you do have to assume the worst, that Long Lake will decide we're not gonna sell the building, we're just gonna sit and wait and do nothing. And that's a possibility. Then you have to take that possibility into account, because if you didn't, now that would not be a good, that would be a problem. So we are taking that stance, moving it forward, and there is time frames involved, like you said, time is running out. Because if we are gonna repurpose the public works facility, we're not building a brand new building, we would repurpose that building, we've already got plans done that have been made public and everything else too, a year and a half ago. So these things are already out there, okay, that, for repurposing what that building could be.
You just claimed that the plans, and you didn't say cost, but I assume.
And costs, yes.
You have got costs of what
Yes,
the rehab would be.
yes, it's all, this is knowledge that's all been at the council, that is public record.
Do you recall what that is?
If I remember right, it was like, 3 million total, which we had actually bonded for, assuming it was gonna be about 3 million.
True, but you spent that on the building because of costs.
So we've also set aside money for reserves just in case as well. So we have lots of stuff that's in place. In case, depending on
I
what
hate to
comes
cut
in.
you off, but
No,
3 million plus, well, you've almost got $1 million invested in this new ladder truck. You've got already expenditures for salary, and things like, above and beyond the operating costs of your ongoing obligations under the joint powers agreement. I mean, the cost of this is running up, and I just want to know, what's it gonna cost us?
We bought this
at the
truck
end of the day?
with all rehab, about 600,000, which a new one is about 2.5.
But we're
So
getting
we
into a
saved
couple
$1
little
million.
details here that, to his point, his original question and hers, the time, if I'm not mistaken, when I listened to the video of the last, I believe it was the last council meeting, and this information is gonna be presented in May. Now, you say it's gonna be presented at a city council meeting, not at an open, I guess I'm a little conflicted.
It's gonna be presented at a city council meeting like every other thing that would be presented. It's not a public comment issue where you get 3 minutes and there's been, do whatever you wanna do kind of thing. It's actually an agenda item that we will
Well, first
do
of
all
all,
the
I think
details, then we'll.
that ought to be a whole separate meeting, if in fact it can legally, because I think it's gonna be a long discussion, if you've got half a dozen
Well,
citizens
that's,
here.
we've got all night.
But secondly, I thought that you said at the meeting the other night that you're gonna present that in May because June 12th or some June date, I'd have to go back and listen to the video, that the decision has to be made by because of some timing issues. So is that true that by June you have to make the final decision on what's happening with the direction of us?
Well, I think if I remember right now, maybe I'm paraphrasing, because I can't remember exactly what they said, but between Matt and Victoria and the fire chief and staff, they're putting together the whole analysis, then to say, we'll obviously have a discussion at the moment, and then everybody can think about it, and we can come back a couple weeks later, or whatever it is, 2 council meetings, or whatever it happens to be, to have more discussion, and then at the council, we'll take all those discussion factors in, take it all in, and start having our own discussion about making decisions.
Maybe I interpreted it wrong.
Because remember, we've already made the decision to create the Orno Fire Department. Long Lake has already acknowledged that. There's a whole bunch of stuff we have to do because of that.
But all these things that he's talking regarding the budget, and I can get off on.
Oh, yeah,
some
they're gonna
different
talk
tangents
about all
for you.
that stuff.
But
And I think
really
it's spot on, but is it
really
the
great to
fact?
have a public hearing, because this is one giant topic that would be a line item on a council meeting. And I think a public hearing, so talk about why you're not offering a public hearing, so we can just have one meeting and just, there's so much to talk about.
It'll take hours.
We'll wear ourselves out
Well,
through.
we are gonna have a public hearing that's gonna be all video recorded and everything at the council
It
meeting.
needs to be.
No,
And I appreciate
it needs to be
I appreciate the fact that
Right,
you
because the last
disagree
people
with how you want us to do business, and that's okay. But that's how we're choosing to do it.
Can you talk
We're
about why
already-
you won't do a public hearing?
We have acknowledged that
Transparency.
this is a public hearing. It's a
No, I
public
looked
meeting.
this up and I learned these things. A council meeting, you have public comments, but a public hearing is more set up for more engagement like this, actually.
You want a form.
These aren't recorded, that's gonna be a recorded meeting.
I'm not talking about recording, I'm talking about the actual interaction.
And that will be an interaction until you are done talking.
Like Hennepin County did, they had several leading up to
Okay,
it.
that's great. Like I said, we can
Yeah.
disagree on how you think that we should go about having, but we're.
Well, there's a lot of interest in the community.
We are.
I would like to know that you're making the right decisions for my business down there.
The citizens are at, or a couple citizens right now are indicating that they think that's a better route to go. You say you.
I've got,
meaning you and
I also have
Councilor-
lots of citizens I've talked to that appreciate the process that we are doing, and that we are gonna present it, and that we are gonna have everybody come up to talk about whatever they wanna talk about regarding the fire department.
But see, this comes full circle, everything that's happened in the last 45 minutes here, to the whole temperature of what's going on up here at City Hall, which is ridiculous. The fact that I can already feel the energy rising in this room, including myself, because
It's a hostile
No
takeover.
disrespect, but I feel you getting defensive and you're one up there against, not against, but with 8 people looking at you, one on camera. This whole thing has got to stop or get pushed and deflated. We've gotta stop this. I'm getting off on a whole other subject here that I'd like to bring up, but once everybody else has had a chance to speak, but we've gotta stop it. You've got, what, 3 more years left in your term? We've got 2 council members, we've got a
He's
brand new
got
council
one.
member. Whatever. We've got an awful lot of time and some big decisions being made in this city that I think there's more and more people that are asking questions, and unfortunately, it's gotten to this point of
Well, personally, I think it's got blown up a little bit, and we talked about this about social media, that you can go on social media and you can yell fire all day long if you want to about
Like
stuff.
you
Make
do.
up
Like
your
just like
own,
you
make
do.
up your own stuff, and
Don't
without anybody being able to
I don't think
deal
anybody
with
in
it.
here would
talk.
disagree with you.
And
He gets dick.
that's part of the problem.
Who are
Now,
you?
We make decisions like that.
Who the
like,
hell
for
are you?
example, we-
guys,
Oh,
you wanna
hold
find
on,
out?
everybody.
Stop.
You wanna
Calm
fucking
down.
find out?
Stop.
Please. Are you insane? Are you really gonna threaten me?
You wanna find out?
For interrupting the
Eat
conversation?
a dick, prick.
Holy crap.
Hey guys,
How old
My
are you?
dad says hi. by
Does your
the way.
mommy know that you're here? I mean, how old are you?
You wanna
What
bring
the
my
hell
mom
is
into this?
wrong with
You
you?
wanna bring my mom into this? He brought my dad into this.
We're talking about.
What is your problem?
It's a fucking hostile takeover is what it is. When the parents fight, the kids pay the price. Believe me, I know.
You're insane. You are truly this is.
So what?
alright,
This is
So what?
Okay.
What are you, a psychiatrist?
Yes, actually I am.
Really? Okay.
Oh my God. Please. Holy.
You're not helping us at all.
Jim, it's fine. It's a hostile takeover, exactly what you
I
said.
think we figured out what's wrong with this.
Gentleman over here was talking.
If you've been paying attention, you'd know,
back to your point,
Mr. In the
Jim was
Loop.
going down an avenue that I would love to have spent some time on, but I'm not gonna do it today.
Where's Mr.
But I would like
Crosby?
to at this forum, which I don't think, again, the city council means is the proper place for it, and I sure don't understand all the ins and outs of city government, but to her point that she's done some looking into it, I think it needs to be a separate meeting.
Well, I
But
appreciate
finally,
your thoughts.
you need to
I
catch
appreciate
up.
your thoughts about that. Right now, we've given the direction, it's already in place. In May, they're gonna be presenting all this information.
Really?
And you
You
can
don't
come
know
and
what's
talk
going
about that
on
all
with
you
him and
want.
I.
Now, we're not.
So what
gonna
if
just
you don't
say
want a
no
part of it?
additional
You
information.
don't want a
We haven't
fucking
made
part
that
of it.
decision. We haven't made that
Are you-
decision
you're-
yet.
you're
We
truly
decided to
insane.
do it.
You have
You
no
are
idea.
insane.
You have no idea.
Change the directory that we're on and make a separate meeting.
Yeah.
Instead of city council. I'm gonna say this, I get all the updates, like coffee with mayor, whatever. City council, someone can see that we have a meeting, but unless they click on the meeting, this is our ignorance to see the whole agenda, they're not gonna know that you're talking about the fire department. Are you gonna put a bullet point out for that city council
We
meeting
put
that
all
says we are gonna talk about the fire
Yeah,
department?
sure, if you think that that would help,
I
absolutely.
absolutely, because I think it should be a separate meeting.
Yes.
And in regards
Well,
to
I'm not
social
talking about a
media.
separate meeting, we'll be glad to say it's gonna be on the council meeting.
May.
Well,
Because
I
that's-
don't know
but
why.
how about just
you can't
considering
do
that
this,
then?
why
You
you-
know,
Consider
Why-
maybe having a forum that is just for the fire department so that people can
It's,
come in.
well, that's a potential, but I can't make that decision by myself. We made a direction
I
and
think people
I
have
think
asked
we
for
need,
city council
we have
meetings.
now made a direction that we are getting ready for a big presentation in May. And you can, Victoria and Matt, and like I said, all those guys are in the process of putting all that together. So we're doing that. That's that, we need to get to that.
So it's
the
taken
answer is
a
no,
year and a
he's not
half for
gonna
you
do
guys
it.
to make your decision on this.
You what?
It's taken a year and a half to get the numbers together, which seems a little suspect to me. That's a
Well,
long time
it's
to get
because
your numbers.
Long Lake just gave us their best proposal. Finally,
But
just
you
in
didn't
late January.
respond to their proposal.
Well, that's because we're digesting all the numbers and putting it all together.
But then Mr. Johnson at the last city council member, someone asked him about that, and he kind of said, I thought we did, and then he realized he didn't. And he was the one that reached out to a specific member of the relief board, which caused angst amongst the fire department.
Well, I'm not familiar with what you're referring to, so.
I think you might be, but that's okay. I'm gonna go back to social media. Everybody on here, whoever is responding and creating all of this craziness, but you, Mr. Mayor, put laughing emojis, you're just as guilty. Stay off, don't respond, have some grace, and let it slide off your back until you can respond intelligently. That's my
My
comment. Because it's
comment,
embarrassing.
my comment is, Mayor, you clearly know. Clearly know that this fire department issue is very big and it's very important. And yet, you don't seem to care to be as transparent as you allude to be. He thinks you protest too much. You should have this open meeting, not in this small chamber room, but in a facility like Long Lake used. You were there. You sat in that meeting. You really should, in terms of the ethics of your responsibility, open this subject up to a bigger forum, a bigger room, and give the public the chance to ask questions and get information. You have purposely narrowed the time and venue so that it'll be a very short, inconvenient, this place will be packed like that, and then you'll say, well, gee, I guess that's all we're gonna get time for. This is a bigger issue, and you know it, and everybody here knows it. You owe us as citizens to be transparent.
We can agree to disagree.
Why don't you just simply agree to do what we're asking you to do?
You can ask me that question 10 times and we can agree to disagree. Now, is somebody else have something else they would like to talk
Why
about?
is it in the service of our town and our citizens not to have a public hearing? Why is that a bad thing?
We are, at the council meeting is a public meeting and we are going to have an open dialogue. So I guess I take issue with
But I think to
your
your
saying that
point,
we're not
that's
doing that.
set
We
up
are
for
doing
success,
that.
because you're
Every
not
word
saying
for
what
it.
they
You work for the people, they're asking
Okay.
for a meeting, give them a meeting.
Okay, I think we've exhausted that subject. Is there another subject?
Would you
somebody would like-
consider bringing the feelings, at least of the majority of this room, that at least I'm hearing, to your council members and say, I think we should maybe reconsider having this at a council meeting, that we maybe should have
And I appreciate that, but I also am meeting with 10 or 20 people every day in the community that think that we're doing exactly the right thing right now.
Name
So
one.
that would give a chance for everybody all at once to get together, specific to that forum, not people sitting in the room trying to get a variance for their debt, not you approving budgets for road construction. Specific to that meeting will just be fire department.
Okay, well, I appreciate your thoughts on that matter, and we'll take it under advisement. So, is there another question?
Yeah, I got one. How come you're not putting any renewable energy on this Taj Mahal of a public works building? How come you're not coming into the modern age?
And based on the lawsuits that you have filed, it'd be inappropriate to discuss that.
Excuse me?
So I guess
The lawsuit I filed had nothing to do. How come, I asked you a pretty
I'm
quick
not gonna
question.
have
How come
conversations
you're
about
not
anything
integrating?
as
He's a
under
climate
lawsuits.
denier, that's why.
I'm not gonna have those conversations inappropriate.
That's why, he's an election denier, he's a Holocaust denier, he's all of the
Has a
above.
little bit of parallel to the fire discussion, and Jim seems very passionate about it. Obviously, it's been his lifelong, involvement in the fire. But if I were to go back several years, I suspect, I don't know this, and if I were to dig back, I would say this is probably how the public works facility in some ways went down. And that went from a
I'm not
30.
sure what you're accusing me of.
I'm not accusing you
It
of
sounds
anything.
like you're accusing me of
Sounds
not
like a
having anything in the
Well, I'm
public.
trying to be open, I'm trying to be open.
All the plans were in the public, all the pricing was in the
Pardon me?
public.
You're seeing a theme.
We actually met with the neighbors to make sure everything was good. They came in and we went through the plans with them.
Well, time
Well,
out.
how come you don't do that with the fire department?
What I'm saying is, to Jim's point, you didn't let me finish, I guess, if now if you wanna talk about finishing. I'm not here to attack you, Mr. Mayor, I'm here to bring out some things that I'm concerned about as a citizen. Partially to Jim's point, again, I can get off on a whole bunch of different avenues here right now. But in terms of the budget of the fire department, or the proposed fire department, whichever, you can give her a straight answer, but the public works went from I did some digging back, and again, shame on me for not have been involved with it. I retired 2 years and a half ago, so I have more time on my hands, and maybe be more involved with some of this. Your initial proposal, or the initial wishes for the public works was a 34,000 quote unquote, I might be off a couple thousand facility. And it was yeah, I have it in writing.
The current facility is 34,000.
You don't
Okay.
get 1,000.
I think that, and I wrote something wrong, thank you for correcting me if in fact I am wrong, I will double check that. But second of all, you guys, can I finish this, please? Dennis jumped up to a 60-some-thousand square foot facility, went from a $4 or $6 million budget to a $12 or $14 million budget, which the bonds were, presented for. Then the bids came in and we're at 18 million. Now we're back down to a $12 million construction, but it doesn't really include the land. It's getting a little gray on that whole thing, but, that's why I started out when you asked what questions I had today. I thought I'd start out with the fire department, because I thought that maybe wasn't as far down the road as maybe Public Works is. And I'm not saying that any of the things are wrong, or that you shouldn't have done any of them. But there's just some big pieces in there that I don't think the public was involved with, that there's decisions being made on some very large financial pieces and to the services. What's the things that we rely on as a city? Police protection, right? Fire, which we're talking about, and Public Works. Parks, yes, I'm not pushing parks down to fourth on the list, but those are the things that we're relying on the city, and that's where the majority of the budget goes for the city. And all we're trying to do, I feel, as citizens right now, today, is bring up some of these subjects that have some, yeah, the monetary pieces. I don't think anybody here they wouldn't live in Orem if they're opposed to taxes, the situation that they're at. They have a choice to move somewhere else. It doesn't mean we just let carte blanche go and let people spend money the way they want it. And that there should be some checks and measures in place for the citizens, not just for the needs of these specific people within City Hall and then with the council and the mayor. I'm sorry, I kind of got off on a tangent there, but that's where I feel like these two have some parallels to it, as you might say. And this fire department, as it shakes out, if I could have ran with Jim's comments really well, because this, and you're in the real estate business, the valuation of that versus look what new construction bids came in on the Public Works facility. Is that going to continue? None of us has a crystal ball to know that if costs are going to continue to accelerate that. Is the $3 million, whatever you quoted was the budget to repurpose the current Public Works to a fire department accurate? I don't know. What are they going to run into? Is it big enough? And there's all kinds of things that come into play there. But boy, I tell you, I'm getting a real eye opener here today on the defense. And hats off to you for having this meeting today, especially considering that there's an awful lot of tension in the city. And if you don't think that there is, there is. And yes, you might have some people that you can say, I think everything's going hunky-dory and great, but guess what? I don't feel it that way as a citizen. So let's deflate where we're at. Let's see if we can't get some meetings that are open to everybody that have the time to evaluate it. And tell me about that June, or if you could look into that, is there a deadline in June that you have to make some decisions by in terms of the fire department, that this information that's being presented in May, that we as citizens don't have a chance to, if somebody comes up with some really good points and some really good questions and some really good information, have a chance to change the course of whatever it is June, because again, I thought I heard at that council meeting that there was something in June that had to happen.
I think it was just a meeting to come back to everybody think about what's going on, if I remember right, but I could be wrong.
And I could be wrong too, again, I was going through an awful lot of
But
stuff.
from the Public Works standpoint, that's actually a success story. The current building, just to go through, and you can laugh, that's fine. The current building is 34,000 feet. The whole site is surrounded by swamp. It was built 30 some odd years ago. The Public Works is hamstringed by the things that they can do in there because of the shortage of space. So the land that we do have, then we bought some from the state to make it, I don't remember exactly, maybe it's 25 acres, maybe it's 30, maybe it's 18. It's a large piece of property. We went through the entire design process with the Public Works people, with Adam, obviously the architect, some kind of understanding what it was. And basically the current needs we have is about 60,000 feet. That would give us room for, I don't know, for a few decades of being able to do what we're doing. We built into the current facility an additional potential, I think 20,000 feet that could be added on if needed in the future, without having to move anything, so it could take us probably into the next century from a Public Works perspective. And everything can have enough room. We have our own mechanics, because in the last 24 months, we also brought all the mechanic stuff in-house, because we're doing so much business with all the trucks we have, and plows, and all police cars, you name it, that we're able to actually bring it in-house for the same cost or less, and be able to control all the stuff that we're doing. So all that stuff is in the new facility. We went out and bonded a year before the construction because we knew interest rates are going up. So we bonded for 30 years at 1.9%, which today would be about 6%. So we knew it was coming, and the people who really benefit is the city of Orono. The residents are gonna know that this is taking place into the next century with everything we need to do, the cheapest funds you can possibly do. It's a good success story. It was all public, the plans were public, the neighbors had some concerns, so we met with them because they're right next door to the facility. Allayed all their concerns, they left happy, and we passed it and we moved on to the next thing, which is we spend $1 million a year on roads too, every single year, which we used to have zero when I first got on, and now we have that fully funded on top of our sewer, our water. The auditors are amazed that we're the only city that they even know that has everything built into their budget, fully funded. That's why we have the best bond rating you can have in the United States, and we're probably one of 20 cities under 10,000 people that have that bond rating in the entire United States. So we have done things very well. We have all the resources internally to do all that kind of stuff. We brought technology in when we had no technology back about 8 years ago. We used to be able to walk into our facility in here, we had 20 file cabinets of papers that if you wanted to find something on a property, good luck. You had to go through file cabinets, and if we wanted to find out what was done with public works and infrastructure, they had to go look for old plans and figure out, what did we do, when did we do it, how much it cost. All the technology, and we have multi-layered 3D showing everything in the city. When stuff was done, you just click on it. It's amazing. We brought good governance to Orono, the best budgeting you can do, smooth. We treat everybody fairly and equally, regardless of what everybody says.
Well,
Bullshit.
okay. I'm not here to say that everything that you and the current council and the previous council, before them was good or bad. All we're here is trying to talk about a couple of big ticket things here that are gonna stick with us for a long time to come. I'm willing to bet, just point to your public works. That wasn't it about 10 years ago we put $1 million into the public works facility, or?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, we did some remodeling over here.
Nobody put $1 million into the public works.
Did an exercise room up there.
No,
That's in the police station.
That was some,
Police station.
at any rate, I'm willing to bet if I went back and read that, and the narrative was, oh, it's a quarter of a century old. Well, 25 years old isn't that old for a building these days, let's face it. So, a
What's
little bit of that
part of
just-
that's old, but it's surrounded by swamps. There's nowhere to build anymore.
I understand
And so they
that.
didn't quite plan that far out, which is what we've done now.
And hats off to you for that piece of it, but
You're
that
building
also
on a
has
swamp over here.
cost to it.
That's on a swamp over
No,
there.
it's not a swamp.
You have to fill
There's
it,
swamps in the back.
you have
of
to
the
fill
property.
in 24 acres.
No, you're wrong.
We're only
You're
asking
wrong.
for transparency. We're asking for information and transparency.
And I think we've addressed that subject. So I appreciate you wanting to continue to address the subject. but
He
we've
said we're
addressed
not
that
gonna
subject.
get-
Where, if you don't get Willow, where is the fire station gonna be?
The public works facility.
I had heard that that building can't be retrofitted, that there's some issues with putting the fire department in that building.
Then you must know something I don't.
Well, you said that pretty fast. I've heard some public discussions about, from somebody within the city that, well, we have room over at the new property now. to
No,
build a fire station.
that's false. That's completely false.
Well, I didn't make that, I didn't.
I'm just
I
telling you-
read that somewhere.
I'm just telling you it's completely false. There's no room for anything besides the public works facility. So that's false information. I'll just correct that right now.
Okay,
So with all, financially, with the public works, inflation, building our own fire department, can you tell us, we have money for all of this today, based on that bond that was issued at the end of 21?
Yes,
We do,
yes.
okay.
Well, we got probably time for one more question. I got board meetings as well, so.
I've got a question. Where has Mr. Crosby been since November 28th?
You'd have
He
to ask
runs
him.
on every meeting,
Oh,
and you don't know where he was on January 6th, right?
Oh, Jesus.
I'm not even.
Are you serious?
Let me ask you this. What do you think about the Holocaust?
I'm not
Oh
gonna
my
get into
God.
that.
You sent me that video.
Okay,
I had dinner with
I
my
appreciate
dad on
everybody's
Sunday.
time, we'll do
Guess
this
what?
again.
He
Second
remembers
Wednesday
the
next month
Nazis,
as well.
he remembers their
So I
boots, he
appreciate
remembers the
that.
shine on their boots.
I
He
appreciate
remembers when my
everyone's-
grandfather hit in the wall. When are you gonna apologize? You committed to sending it. No apology?